watching We All Be News Radio, News Free Dixie for the 21st century. I'm Thaddeus Matthews.
Welcome, family, to another wonderful, infiltrating, agitating edition of The Artivist Thinks We All Be News. And tonight I want to talk about what is going on right now with Alex Jones. He has lost his platform, InfoWars, because, you need information. Like Baba Dick Gregory said, information is power. And brother Alex Jones, whether you love him or hate him, who you think you like him or you don't like him, he has been very pivotal in disseminating information to the masses since the 1990s. I want to say he started with public access TV back in the 90s, a little post Waco with David Koresh and Branch Davidians. He was doing it in Austin, and he took his start on public access TV and built a media empire based on disseminating conspiracies and other information. Alex Jones, to me, was not a conspiracy theorist, or he is not a conspiracy theorist. He's a conspiracy realist, because like for the last, I want to say just about quarter of a century, if not more, almost 30 years, he has been consistent in putting out information that has been proven one way or the other to be based in fact. Now, what caused him to lose his media empire at this current time is very controversial with the Sandy Hook thing, alleged Sandy Hook hoax. They say that Alex Jones was pushing, but that Sandy Hook thing is a trickery, slippery slope. And I just think they was looking for any type of way to get Alex Jones. And like anybody, he fell for the okie doke. But I think that, he was actually railroaded. There's a little sleight of hand going on with the Sandy Hook thing. And I know years ago I had a video where I interviewed Baba Dick Gregory about the Sandy Hook travesty, tragedy, fiasco, mystery, history. He will always say that within the next, the first breaking story is not the official story. It's like a rough draft of the so-called official story. Because at first there were multiple shooters being reported on the police scanners or whatever y'all talk on the police radio thing. I think they was reporting multiple shooters at Sandy Hook, and then it went down to one lone shooter. And American history is always, it's not the long gun man, it's the long gun men. That's how I look at American history when it comes to these assassinations and other side ops and things of that nature. So Baba Dick Gregory didn't say it didn't happen. He just said the story changes over the next 24, 48 hours of the initial breaking. And that got me in trouble with YT Tube. And they removed that video, and he didn't say it didn't happen. No, it's this phenomenon known as crisis actors. A lot of these travesties, tragedies, it would be, be some crisis acting going on. These are actors hired by the government for whatever reason, and they're put in emergency situations, like simulated emergency situations. So they had reports of crisis actors nearby, and it is what it is. Like Shakespeare, I think, said the world's a stage. So everything to me is a psyop. Everything is theater. Everything is acting. People are acting every day. Your life is a movie. So you get to play the main character, or you could be the supporting actor or actress. You could be director, producer. What I'm saying is, Alex Jones, he was a guy that exposed the Bohemian Grove, like the Illuminati. He exposed the Illuminati at their playground out west, the Bohemian Grove. Look it up. He actually snuck in and got footage of the ritual of the Bohemian Grove. If you think about how powerful that is, a lot of powerful people, presidents, media personalities like Walter Cronkite, the most trusted man in America. That Walter Cronkite, I think he was an alleged member of the Bohemian Grove. And, I'm saying how powerful that thing is. In House of Cards on Netflix with Kevin Spacey, it seemed like Kevin Spacey then started having trouble with the law and everything until he started exposing the Illuminati on his show. Right before he got kicked off of House of Cards, he had a couple of episodes dealing with a Bohemian Grove type of organization that he participated in. So the House of Cards, I mean, life imitate art, art imitates life. Is very reciprocal. Well, Alex Jones, he stepped on a lot of powerful people's toes over the years, and people celebrate it. It's people weird to me. I believe in freedom of speech. I don't believe in censorship because I want people to say what they got to say because I want to say what I got to say without being filtered, without being edited. I believe in the First Amendment. I believe in freedom of expression. I especially respect those who say what they say and stand on what they say and stand by and for what they say. And I respect and I stand for their right to say what they want to say. I don't like the censorship thing because it's like a pendulum swing. You know, people talk about, you know, people on the left being censored now, but I remember back in after 2016, man, I was making some decent money as a YouTuber for the first time in my life. I've been YouTubing since January of 2009. I've been podcasting since January the 7th, 2007. So I'm like an OG at this thing. I actually seen the growth from the ground up. Basically, I was like one of the pioneers out in the wilderness. Now things are popping, and I'm trying to find a way to fit myself in and do what I got to do and to keep on soldiering. But I had my battles. But go back to, like, you know, a lot of alternative media people, a lot of us influenced that 2016 election. Donald Trump got in because he had alternate news sources, alternate media, non-traditional media. We really was pushing, you know, Trump and other things. You know, Bernie Sanders benefited from it. A lot of people were able to vie for the top spot or compete because you had alternate media out there. Then you had a lot of, you know, people talking about hot dogs and pizzas towards the end, hot dog and pizza parties. You know what I'm saying? A lot of crazy stuff. But I remember, like, you know, I can remember like it was yesterday. My 2016 was amazing. Like, I was making plans, you know, man, this actually could be a career path, like going forward, like actually doing news from a different perspective. You know, Dick Gregory was still around, Bobby Dick Gregory, Judge Joe Brown. I was the first cat to really start interviewing those guys heavily. And I shared their contact information with the rest of some of y'all. And, you know, 2025, I'm still cleaning toilets and urinals and stuff like that. And other people, they, you know, they eating lobster and steak and all that stuff. It ain't no big deal, but, like, you know, I was able to start something, but I didn't catch that wave like a lot of people for whatever reason. But, you know, we'll see what God has in store. But with that said, I remember, like, closing out 2016 for Bang. Things were looking up. I was thinking big. I wanted to scale up the business, maybe hire some help. I remember January 2017 was starting out glorious. Then I started seeing my views decline. Like, in views I had, they took them down. They subtracted money I earned. They started subtracting the money. Then somebody invented something and said we could catch, you know, YouTubers if they're uploading videos that promote hate speech, or, well, they started really censoring people heavily, like stuff that we was able to do. YouTube, social media used to be the wild, wild west. But when 2017 came around, we was punished by the left. Hell, they even deplatformed a president, Donald Trump. They deplatformed a sitting president. You know, YouTube, it just had to pay out $27 million to President Trump for censoring him and for undermining his ability to get his message out on their platform. They paid $24 million. Look it up. Take a look. It's all online. What I'm saying is, one of the biggest targets, because President Donald Trump benefited heavily from the endorsement of Alex Jones. Alex Jones was like one of the top media people to really promote Donald Trump, really push him over the top. And they punished Alex Jones. Within the first year, 2 years of Donald Trump's presidency, they started going after Alex Jones. They basically deplatformed. Because, like, you know, Joe Rogan, they say Joe Rogan is the #1 podcast, you know, but Alex Jones, he set the table. Alex Jones, I believe, from reports I heard while I read, he'll get 30 million listeners a day, even today, even the platform. Getting kicked off of Facebook and YouTube. He tried to start another channel on YouTube. They kicked him off because YouTube allegedly was supposed to, come there, everybody come back kumbaya to their platform to restart their channel to unban people. But Alex Jones and Nick Fuentes tried to, get back on YouTube. Their channel was, shut down. And the thing about Alex Jones, he's bigger than a platform. It's a movement. InfoWars is a movement. And he's been consistently delivering the goods. And that the powers that think they be don't like that. So they do everything they can to shut down Alex Jones. They thought the Sandy Hook thing, judgment was going to shut him down. But, he found a way through nooks and crannies, through loopholes to keep the movement going on that platform of InfoWars. But now they have closed the curtains. I told people when this happened some years ago with Alex Jones, this is not a good look. People are celebrating. People are kind of naive and naive and just don't think today him, but tomorrow you, and then tomorrow after tomorrow. My thing is Alex Jones should not have gotten treated like that. They even did it to Minister Farrakhan, try to deplatform him, try to limit his reach. But when you build things from a grassroots perspective, unless you get to the root, it's hard to kill. So Alex Jones is hard to kill. InfoWars, Minister Farrakhan, even Nick Fuentes, they're hard to kill because they got a grassroots following that regardless if you uproot them from your platform, they can plant their seeds and their followers will come. They're feeding their mass. They're feeding their people. So Alex Jones has been feeding the people for better or for worse. My thing about us, we get too, when I'm talking about us, specific. Black American natives, we get too emotional when it comes to this type of stuff. Like, we more concerned, like, does Alex Jones like black people? Do he mind eating a hamburger or drinking a beer with a black person? And we get caught in that trap. It's not about the messenger. It's about the message. Baba Dick Gregory, he dealt with Alex Jones. He dealt with the Rush Limbaughs. Baba Dick Gregory told me these white boys, they have the best information. Regardless of what their racial bigotry or animus, whatever it may be, they have some of the best information on the planet. So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater type of thing. So Baba knew, he couldn't. He even told William Cooper, behold the pale horse, the guy who's the godfather of the Alex Joneses and people like that. Jordan Maxwell. I wish I would have had a chance to speak with Jordan Maxwell, but William Cooper really, he had a falling out with Alex Jones before he passed away or before he was taken out of here. And, he said basically Alex can't be trusted, whatever, but they took out William Cooper. And Baba Dick Gregory told William Cooper's widow that they was going to come for him like that. And she said, how did he know? William Cooper, Bill Cooper, he wrote the book, Behold the Pale Horse. He basically was the man who saw and predicted the future. Used to work in naval intelligence back in the day. He saw some things and he swore, not to tell. He told Uncle Sam he wouldn't tell, and he told. And he been in some near life death experiences, all type of stuff. He exposes the truth about UFOs, assassinations like President Kennedy's assassination, where he claimed that the driver, William Greer, was the actual gunman that killed JFK. If you look at the Zapruder film, you can look at the film, it's been tampered with, of course, but the driver slows down, turns around, it looks like he got something in his hand, maybe it's bad, the editing, whatever. But he's a thought provocateur. But a lot of things talking about AIDS and stuff like that and depopulation things. Let's read the book, Behold the Pale Horse. He was a trailblazer. And he kind of figured out 9/11 was going to happen. He talked about on his radio show, which had a huge following. This is before like the internet, social media as we know it. William Cooper had a huge following. He was out west in Arizona. But a little bit after September 11th, on November 5th, 2001, he was in a shootout allegedly with the sheriffs up there in Arizona where he lived, and he was assassinated. And his body was laying in his home for a day. I saw a documentary on YouTube. Basically said the body was lying up there in his home for about a day before it was picked up. But let's look at some of Bill Cooper's stuff. Look up Bill Cooper, some of his stuff. He did a Lansing lecture back in the 90s, but there's a lot of things, Bill Cooper, William Cooper, but I feel like what they're doing to Alex Jones, see what they do, they'll character assassinate before they physical assassinate. And what they're doing is they're trying to make sure that Alex Jones' voice is muted before they do the physical act. That's what it sounds like to me. Because Alex Jones knows the importance of being heard and seen. Like I said, they said allegedly like 30 million people will listen to Alex Jones or watch Alex Jones on a daily basis. You take away his platform, his ability to communicate with his people, that stops. Then, you know, next thing you know, something happens, unfortunately, and people try to say, what happened? It's like you look at Candace Owens. You know, she's very popular. I mean, I never seen a phenomenon like her with Candace Owens where she could go live on YouTube or Rumble and get like 500,000 people to watch her at one time live. And then get millions and millions of views and downloads, whatever. But the thing about what Baba Dick Gregory told me, he said, Ron, when somebody would tell me something they told me not to tell nobody else, I'll make sure I tell 1,000 people. You understand? That's how you stay alive. You know, instead of you keeping the secret to yourself and it dies with you if something unfortunate happens, you tell 1,000 people, 100 people, whatever. You tell 500,000 people, and if they try to do something to you, then it validates the information. Because there's no accidents in this world. Y'all keep on thinking, oh, it's an accident. There's no accidents. When airplanes fall out the sky, that's not an accident because airplanes hardly fall out the sky. I remember like reading something about Walter Reuther, who was a peer, contemporary of was it Jimmy Hoffa? He was over the, I think, United Auto Workers back in the day. Walter Reuther. Let me look it up right quick. And he was a friend of the civil rights movement. He was a close ally of Dr. King. He supported the civil rights movement. And United Auto Workers. And they tried to assassinate him so many times. They shot him up real bad back in 1948. They tried to do a Charlie Kirk. It damaged one of his arms, right? And basically partially paralyzed in that arm, if I'm not mistaken. They tried to take out his brothers. He had the Reuther brothers. They were like the German-American version of the Kennedys, but they was blue-collar workers from, I think, West Virginia. And they tried several assassination attempts on Walter Reuther. Then what ended up happening is, say back in May of 1970, on May 9th, 1970, Walter Reuther, his wife, May, architect Oscar Stoneroff, Reuther's bodyguard, William Wolfman, pilot George O. Evans, and co-pilot Joshua U. Carafa were killed when their charter Learjet 23 crashed in flames at 9:33 p.m. Eastern Time. The plane arriving from Detroit in rain and fog was on final approach to Pellston Regional Airport in Pellston, Michigan, near the UAW's recreational and educational facility at Black Lake, Michigan. The National Transportation Safety Board discovered that the plane's altimeter was missing parts. Some incorrect parts were installed, and one of its parts had been installed upside down, leading some to speculate that Reuther may have been murdered. Reuther had been subjected earlier to two attempted assassinations, and a similar near crash in a small plane in 1969. Woo, boy, think about this. Journalist Michael Parenti wrote, Reuther's demise appears as a part of a truncation of liberal and radical leadership that included the deaths of four national figures: President John Kennedy, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and Senator Robert Kennedy. And Coretta Scott King even eulogized Walter Reuther at his funeral on May 15th, 1970, at the Ford Auditorium in Detroit, Michigan. Said the estimate 3,400 people were in attendance. Read what she said about Walter Reuther at his funeral. Walter Reuther was to Black people the most widely known and respected white labor leader in the nation. He was there when the storm clouds were thick. We remember him in Montgomery. He was in Birmingham. He marched with us in Selma and Jackson, Mississippi, and in Washington. Only yesterday, there he was again in Charleston, South Carolina. the leader of 1.5 million workers, giving personal support to a strike of only 400 black women. He was a big man, so of course he had enemies and detractors. He had the courage to be with the minority when it was right. He was a simple man in his personal life, a rare quality in these flamboyant times. But if his ways were simple, his ideas were grand. He aroused the imagination of millions. He was fighting the fights of the whole world. So Walter Reuther, this big-time labor leader, his plane should not have been fit for flying. See, they tried to talk about the fog and all this stuff, but, it was raining and fogging, but he was already about to land at the airport in Pellston, Michigan, and all of a sudden his plane went down in flames, killing everybody aboard, including his wife and bodyguard. And they said plane parts were missing, plane parts were upside down. That's an accident, folks. I'm just trying to prove y'all that's an accident. I remember like Rakim, the great Rakim, the rapper, he has a fear of flying. The reason why he said he had a fear of flying from an interview I read or heard was his father used to work on the airplanes for the airport out there in New York. And his father would come on and tell him horror stories about what's going on with the mechanical workings of the plane. How he, basically was saying some of these planes ain't fit to fly. So he had a fear of flying from that point on. But what I'm saying is that, they'll make things look like an accident when they were professional hits. And you'll never know or be the wiser. And with Alex Jones, I mean, he was protege of William Cooper, even though Bill Cooper tried to distance himself from Alex Jones, kind of like when people saying that Dr. King was trying to distance himself from Jesse Jackson, Reverend Jesse Jackson. It is what it is. But Alex Jones knows he needs to make sure he tell his stories, amplify his message, even when his platform is no longer his, because that's the way of keeping alive. Because people got a short memory. People have a way of forgetting or reimagining things. And it's really sad. But Alex Jones, I hope everything works out for him. Y'all pray for Alex at noon, that him and his family be safe, and that the truth will come out about the matter as it pertains to him losing his media empire. But like I said, like the song say, it ain't over till it's over. So it's not over for brother Alex Jones. But I just want to talk about that and bring that to people's attention. It reminds me, like, look up Mae Brussels. Mae Brussels. I think I say Mae Brussels or Mae Brussels. I think it's Mae Brussels. She was a conspiracy realist. She was a pioneer in this thing of ours. And the person who told me about her was a friend of We All Be, the late great John Judge, who was a conspiracy realist himself. He was an assistant to the Honorable former U.S. Congresswoman Cynthia McCain. He talked about Mae Brussels helping him, but Mae Brussels, man, she was a housewife from California, and she did a radio show in California for a number of years before she passed on back in the 80s. Actually, she passed on October 3rd, 1988, but her information still holds up to this day. Like, she was connecting the dots. This is before internet, social media, anything, all the smartphones, everything that we take for granted. This woman was able to do so much phenomenal, like, research and report it in the 70s and the 80s. Find some of her radio programs on YouTube. It'll blow your mind how accurate the stuff still stands up today. That's Mae Brussels. And so, like Steve Coakley, the great research analyst, conspiracy realist from Chicago, a good brother. Even Bobby Dick Gregory said they took him out of here because he ended up dying in a hospital in D.C. area, I want to say back in 2012. And Bobby Dick Gregory died in a hospital in the D.C. area back in 2017. And that's interesting because there were reports of Bobby Dick Gregory. It's like he was on the mend. He was, energetic. And next thing you know, he was out of here. And sometimes that happens like that. People get a energy surge and then they get out of here. I know my grandfather, he got that energy surge at the end, passing on to the righteous ancestors or stars a couple days later. But thank you, family, for tuning out to tune in to get in where you fit in. This is Brother Ron signing off. Remember, in the words of Great Duke Ellington, we love you madly. Remember, in the words of Brother Ron, y'all keep on producing and pushing. Until the next time, look for me in the whirlwind. I'll do the same for you, cause we all be in it to win it. Can you dig it? One love. Y'all keep love. Wonderful word. One love.